Hey everyone, my name is Rooster, and welcome back to Mechabellum. Today we'll be playing up against Zemp, and I'll be playing a card that I haven't picked in a long time. Now, looking at the packs here, I knew it was going to be a very high-level match, so I'm playing it safe. I'm going to go for a Sledgehammer pack. Probably the Marksman Specialist here, because I feel like it gives a little bit more power than something like Fortified Specialist, which, I mean, it's fine, but it doesn't really give you a big power spike of any sort. The added stats are okay, but I kind of wanted to get that high-level marksman, and looks like we will make good use of it because we're up against spiders with fangs in this game. On the left side, we have a wall plus an anti-armor cannon, which means that pushing over here is going to be very difficult for him, and because he starts with spiders, I do expect him to play aggressively, and I mean, even if he doesn't, I expect him to be on the right side, so we will be playing asymmetrically ourselves. Two sledgehammers on either side of the tower, one fang in front, one fang behind to kind of trickle through slowly, and I'm keeping some space here to eventually add some crawlers as well. I will be putting one fang all the way on the left, that way the flank is covered against Phoenix attacks, or, you know, Phoenix attacks from the front. It can, you know, thin down a pack of wasps. It won't win, but it just kind of forms a good basis to play around later on if need be. On this given round, I decided to go for arc lights instead of buying more DPS. I could have gone for double marksman, but I was a bit afraid that he might just buy a bunch of chaff. He buys one and then also buys another spider because he's a cost control specialist, and I just do not really think sledgehammers would be able to clear this much chaff efficiently, so that's what I decided to go for. I know I'll get the marksman next round, so next round I can focus on the DPS side of things. Looks like we will lock on to some of the spiders early on. One of them in the middle gets stuck on our small turret. And again, the point here is not necessarily to win. If I can take down some spiders, you know, that's great because it saves me 200 hit points, but I'm kind of setting up units I'm going to need anyway. I will need arc lights in the early game to chaff clear. I will need chaff. The tanks are already there. And I know that I'll get that level 3 marksman on round 2. So just buying the things that I don't already have and that I won't be getting, and making sure that, you know, I can not have to worry about my chaff clear situation and my stalling situation. Thankfully, we managed to kill a spider there at the end. Only one remains alive and we take a very small amount of damage. And already here on round 2, we have to make a decision about what unit reinforcements we want. Now, I do see the Sabertooth in there, which is kind of the typical counter to Spider, but I thought to myself that level 3 Void Eye looks really, really nasty. It's got a good matchup against both the Sabertooth and the Rhino that were offered, so let's just pick that instead. I can always buy a level 1 Sabertooth if I want to. I cannot buy a level 3 Void Eye if I wanted to. Now, we see but already there's a bit of a spider cage being formed here. Sabertooth in that corner, crawler with a spider behind on the shallow flank. Looking quite scary, but I do have the Void Eye there to cover for me. I also decided to buy a Stormcaller here because we've got those fangs up front, and Stormcaller in general is very good against spiders and Sabertooth as well. So happy to pick one of those up. And we just buy another Void Eye here. Now, we are very clumped, and I was kind of starting to dread Raiden. It's just such a strong giant in the meta currently, and I mean, when you're building boards like this, you're kind of asking for it to be built, right? I've got sledgehammers, I've got arc lights, I've got Void Eyes now. Lots of things that Raidens don't mind shooting at, so moving forward, that was kind of what I was trying to play around. Of course, I want to win, and I want to try and kill the spiders, but I also need to try and make sure that I'm not too vulnerable here to the Raiden transition, which I thought he would make. Now, we managed to win, thankfully. I mean, it's a good round for us. The Void Eye got some good lock-ons, and of course, I got my marksman, so we do win on the power spike turn. Round number 3, nothing too special here. Mass-produced Scorp is a very good card, but it's not necessarily something I want to play into spiders, so I decided to skip. There's something to be said there, perhaps, for the intensive training, but I just wanted to get as much money as possible here. I've got a bunch of chaff to buy, I've got text to buy as well, Eventually, we'll probably want range on our arc lights. And yeah, that's why I'm just kind of saving as much money here as possible. We go for Void Eyes with suppression shots, which is often the first tech, as many of you may know. Very, very good against spiders because it just reduces their range by so much. It makes it much easier to lock onto them. And good against things like sabers as well for the same reason. Now, tame turn overall, we just buy a bunch of fangs. I wanted to prevent him from missiling all of this because we are very clumped. And just have a look at the chaff on the other side, right? My opponent definitely had the exact same idea as I had. And we're getting overwhelmed by chaff here. The arc lights aren't really getting it done. I mean, they are slowly, but I feel like we're just chaff clearing far too slow. And I wasn't even convinced that going for more arc lights and picking up arc light range would really do that much in this scenario. Now, luckily, you can see the Void Eyes here are crushing. Of course, we do have a bit of an advantage as well in terms of stats because we are up against cost control. And, I mean, this is looking good once again. Not the most damage, but we're chipping away at the opponent, and slowly but steadily we'll get to see what is the comp that he wants to play. Because for now, it's nothing but spiders. Round number 4, some very good cards in here. We've got Orbital Javelin, Efficient Light Manufacturing, Improved Phoenix, and Efficient Giant Manufacturing even. I think here the decision is between Jav and Light Manufacturing. Earliest round that those cards can show up. Orbital Javelin, very powerful. And it has a very low cooldown as well for a red spell. So you're likely to see it again when you pick it up this early. Efficient Light, though, not bad whatsoever. But I decide to go for the Phoenix. So a bit of a difference here, as I wasn't entirely sure whether I had enough DPS. And I wanted to give this card a go. So again, in this scenario, I probably would have picked one of the other 2 cards, but I wanted to gain some tempo and punish the fact that he didn't have any anti-air for the time being. Improved Phoenix did receive a nerf a while back. Used to give a bonus 50% attack. Now that's only 20%, but you still get that amazing 250% bonus HP. And the nice thing about that is that now Phoenix is no longer vulnerable to things like Forte A, for instance. It's simply too tanky. And even against enemy Phoenixes, enemy marksmen, it can often tank one or multiple shots before it goes down. Now, opponent does pick up the Javelin, so we'll have to watch out for that later. But it does look like we're going to manage to win the round. You can see that there's some fangs left alive. If these were regular Phoenixes, they would have gone down ages ago, but they're not. 10k hit points per Phoenix there. And we will manage to be victorious. Keep in mind, I did recruit these at level 2 because I wanted to get the benefit of those added stats and really make sure that we have enough DPS available to kill all of these spiders. Round number 5, again, we see unit drops at the earliest possible occasion for the second round of reinforcements. And Zemp decides to pick up the Wraith. Might just end up selling that. I wasn't afraid here of the Fortress because, again, these are improved Phoenixes. And, well, I decided to go for Vulcan since, as I mentioned before, that was kind of the big problem that I still had, the chaff clear situation. I mean, there are so many crawlers in here that I really needed to do something about that. So the Vulcan is a very nice gift. We'll happily take it. I decided to pick up one more and go for the immediate range on them. Range on the Phoenixes here would be nice as well, as they do get outranged currently by the Vulcan, so that could mean danger. But I didn't see any anti-air units for the time being, so I wasn't too pressed to get it. But it is definitely on the list. I want to play Vulcan Phoenix here. I know that Improved Phoenix doesn't need a transition because it doesn't really have many weaknesses. Now, we also used the oil this round, since I only have 2 Vulcans, and I really wanted to try and get the tempo. It looks like we'll do a good job of that. Right side gets crushed immediately. Those spiders are not long for this world. There is a Wraith on my flank. Thankfully, we did manage to level this tower, so it should take a while for those to go down. And, well, my Phoenixes are already locked on, and you can see here that the improved Phoenix card is making a big difference. My Phoenixes did get hit. However, they managed to survive because of that added tankiness. So a fantastic round. Very happy with how this went. The Wraith does manage to eventually debuff me, but nothing too concerning, as we should be able to simply go and take it down. First, though, my army wants to grab the remainder of the buildings and the towers, but eventually we do come out ahead, and that's 2 levels, or 1 level, sorry, available for my Phoenixes. Round number 6, we do see Orbital Bombardment. Now, it's not amazing against Raiden, or against Improved Phoenix for that matter, but it is quite good at clearing chaff. So, for that reason alone, I probably should just pick it here, because if I can clear the chaff faster, my Phoenixes will lock on more easily, and, well, it's just a good time altogether. Wondering what I was thinking about here. I mean, a skip or an intensive training could be good as well. Try and get high-level Vulcans. It has been a unit I've liked playing into Raiden. Just try and get, you know, a really beefy giant, because that's typically one of Raiden's weaknesses, at least this early on. They're not the highest DPS unit in the game. They can be, if they've got levels, they kind of overcome that weakness, but right now they're just level 1. I will say, though, we went from having 2 Raidens to now having 5 of them with range. So, it's starting to get a little bit scary. I do pick up the level on the Phoenix. I pick up 1 more here on the left side with a Vulcan to kind of parry for it. And let's see. I decide to double shield. Opponent doesn't shield, which should mean that we get some good hits on the chaff, ideally. Looks like we are. Although I say that, now that I'm looking at it, we're not really hitting that much. It seems like almost every single one of those orbitals had missed. But at the very least, it softened up the Raidens a little bit. And we didn't suffer too much from the orbital either. So as my Phoenixes are now locked on, we might be able to come out ahead. Again, here on that right side, we can see the Phoenixes being able to tank at least 1 more shot. And that means we are victorious on that side of the board. Left side, though, struggling. And this tower could go down. I mean, I really do not want this tower to fall when the Phoenixes are about to engage. But it looks like we'll get away with it. And we even get another level on the Phoenix there. So level 4 improved Phoenix, potentially. Round 7, barrier shows up. Very good item for the Vulcan. I was wondering whether I'd rather get the barrier or the portable shield here, because both are nice on a Vulcan, especially when they're, you know, about to level. But at the same time, barrier can just protect you from, you know, a host of spells like orbital bombardment or whatever, and it's very good value if you can play it for multiple rounds, because you basically don't have to invest into an actual shield. So that's why eventually I go for barrier, but I think port shield here is not a bad purchase either. No need for the other 2. And yep, there we go, barrier. At this point, I'm pretty happy with my setup. Just look at the amount of Raidens, by the way. This is getting out of control. We went from having 2 to having 5 to now having, I believe, 7. So, yeah, these Phoenixes do have their work cut out for them. Luckily, we do decide to pick up 2 more. Blue Phoenixes, elite recruited. Temp range has been picked up. We are loaning here. Very important to do that, especially from round 7 onwards. Sometimes you can even take temp range earlier if you have the money. And, I mean, let's see how this goes. I tried to put the Phoenixes more so paired up with the Vulcan. I had one on the outside, but then I realized I have no chaff clear over here. Does look like that wasn't a problem, but I kind of expected him to add more chaff. So this is why we play it this way. I also level this tower 1 more time because I felt like the left side was under a lot of pressure. And on the other side of the board, of course, we've got more Raidens, but we also have high explosive now on the spiders. So there will be chaff clearing a lot faster. We're not too bad at it ourselves. And here, like, I'm starting to think, should I pick up charge shot, or are we happy with the damage? And I think to myself, well, I'm probably fine with the damage currently. I've got level 4 Phoenixes. You can see the big chunks of damage that they're doing. Left side Raidens are getting stuck on that level 3 tower. I'm quite happy that we took those tower enhancements. And as we get the tower debuff, we should be able to clean up. And that means Zemp is going to be awfully close to dying. However, it is round 8, which means that the Javelin is back. The electromagnetic impact here also shows up. Zemp doesn't pick it, though. Goes for the greedy option of the enhancement module. Does have levels available, so can immediately pay back the cost of that item and then also get the benefit of the added stats. So if he manages to turn this around, he does have a good scaling option here. I think it's a good choice. If he wanted to be really safe, he could have picked up EMP and perhaps tried to hit these 2 Phoenix packs. But, you know, he has the Javelin, so probably he thinks that he's safe here. And then, considering I have 4,000 hit points, he's going to need to win at least a couple rounds, at which point the enhancement module should pay off. More chaff right now. And I picked up the levels on the Vulcans, which allows them to survive an orbital javelin. So that's very nice. I also decided to try my luck at getting a debuff here. I put a marksman in the corner because this dies very easily to a missile, and then a Phoenix right behind, trying to tuck them away as tightly as possible. It's also why I put this crawler up here, to hopefully pull this Raiden forward and have it keep moving forward, as EMP is now picked up on the Raidens for Zemp. We, of course, shield everywhere. This Javelin, though, a little bit greedy from the looks of things. I mean, there was a Stormcaller there, but I'm not convinced this is going to hit the Vulcan. And indeed, it misses. So, of course, the Vulcan would have lived, but now it simply lives with all of its hit points. So that is fantastic for me. On the left side, we did manage to EMP, I think, 3 Raidens. Very happy with that. Sadly, though, the flank didn't quite work, but at least it did slow down that Raiden significantly. And I don't think these Raidens are getting through. On the right side, we're all locked on. There's no chaff left. And as we clean up the last level 2 Raiden, all we have to do now is go over to that left side, grab the debuff, and claim our victory. Nice game here. Card I haven't played in, I want to say, probably over 100 games. Very rare that you get to pick Improved Phoenix. And we picked it on, you know, a turn where some very, very solid cards were offered. Efficient Light there on round 4. Always a good pickup if you want to play small units. Javelin, hard to skip. And, well, we did see it there on the last round. I had a chat with Zemp about this, and actually he wasn't aware that the square that Vulcans or any unit picks up is not the actual hitbox of the unit. And this is important to know. It's the actual unit itself that has a, you know, a very nice hitbox, nicely modeled hitbox. You can see this if you go into the unit modification tab. You will see here the square that the Vulcan takes up, but the actual hitbox is this drawing of the Vulcan itself. So, yeah, important there not to miss the Vulcan. I don't think it would have mattered there. In the end, we won by quite a nice margin, but, you know, it would have certainly helped out, and it's a good thing to note moving forward. Now, what should my opponent have done there? I think they probably should have tried to get into something like Wasps to try and delay my Phoenixes. The matchup is not great, though. Raidens are not meant to kill, you know, Vulcans, much less high-level ones. And Improved Phoenix, honestly, is quite good into them, too, because of the added stats. So I think the matchup just wasn't great. Maybe he needed to go for a pivot. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a thumbs up. Let me know down below in the comments what you think of Improved Phoenix. Is it a card that you love? Have you picked it before, or do you never touch it? Let me know. If you want to stay up to date with latest content, please consider subscribing. And if you want to see me play live, check me out on Twitch. With that being said, take care, guys, and see you in the next video. Bye-bye.